Dum dum dum. Dum 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 dum. Dum 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 dum. All right, so today we're going to look at doing uh, using a Gmail calendar, Google Calendar, to uh, trigger events in the house, or to send notifications of it's trash day, you need to take the card out to the curb, that kind of thing. And so the first thing you really have to do is to set up the inside Home Assistant. You want to set up the Google Calendar event. Now this is kind of long and involved, and I'm not going to go over it in the video, but you just follow the directions and you'll get it set up. And then once you've got that calendar added, it's going to add just a generic calendar. Um, but we want to actually get a little more specific. So here's my calendar that I use for my house. Um, and you'll see I've got different things on here, like there's trash day, there's recycle day. Here's replace air filter every 3 months. Um, Heartworm med for the dog once a month. Things like that. So, and the way you do that in Home Assistant is once you got it set up, you're gonna edit your Google Calendar dot Google Calendars.yaml. You're gonna edit that file and you're gonna put in some search terms. So let's say, like, if I go to the search here and I put in trash and hit enter, I'm gonna get all the trash days, you know, all the days where there's a search result for trash. And that's kind of what's going on here. We're putting in, a device ID. We're doing a search of the term trash, and it's returning the top 5 results. Now, technically, we only really need the first result or the next result, really, for the next date that's going to occur. But you could, if you really want to plan things multiple days out, you could. It's not really that necessary the way I do it. Um, so yeah, we've set up these search terms, and here I'll show you what this looks like a little bigger. Uh, so I made it a little bigger there. So what you're doing is you're giving it a name, right there. You're telling it to track yes. Max results 5. That's the default. You can change that to whatever you like. And then the search term. In this case, we're searching for recycle, and it's going to show all of the recycle days, which for me is every 2 weeks on a Wednesday. Um, it's going to show all of those. So, I've set up, in my calendar, I have set up this recurring event for, every 2 weeks on Wednesday. And it's set it to all day because I don't need to know what time it is. It doesn't really have a time. So you set it to all day. And then, yeah, and then so it just tracks when those things occur. And then once you've got these set up inside Home Assistant and you restart Home Assistant, every time it loads, it'll go and pull that calendar data. Um, and then here in your developer tools, you'll see them. Like here's the heartworm, here's the on-call, recycle, trash. So all my calendars are here. So then now we can go back to Node-RED. And so the first thing we're going to want to look at is what kind of data does the calendar give me? So let's go do a call service on that guy. And I'm sorry, um, a current state. I'm sorry, current state. We're going to do that on the calendar. So let's say we want to we'll look for trash. There it is. Let's see what kind of data we get out of it. All right, so it's just giving me an off. Since today's, for me, today's a Thursday, there's no trash today, it's off. But let's see what else we get here with the complete. All right, so yeah, so the complete is going to give me the next date that it is, the next date that is true, and that's going to be the 28th, Wednesday the 28th, right? So we can see here on the calendar, Wednesday the 28th is the next day for me that it is going to be true. All right, so let's move this aside for a minute. So one of the issues is that, when the trash guys come, it's but early in the morning. That truck gets here before I'm out of bed, and so I need to take the trash out the night before, Tuesday night. So the best way to do this is to we're gonna do an inject here of a timestamp. We're gonna do it at a specific time. We're gonna do it on the Tuesday at 11 p.m. I want it to check and see if tomorrow is a trash day. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna format. Let's see, the date's gonna come out in this format. So we're gonna get this. So we're getting that out of it, and from that we're gonna want this value. So we're going to output that value here. Message pin, state location. How to do this? So I want to get that value. So I want to do a change node, and I want to set that value to the current payload. So we're going to do a move of that start time to the payload. We're actually going to call it start time. We're going to call it. Let's say next date. Message next date. We'll call it next date. All right. And then we're going to then we need, so now we have that payload of message next date stored. I'll do a complete here. Message object. We'll close that. Now if I hit this, you see I have next date stored. So now we need to compare. So we need to get today's date. We're going to do the date and time formatter, and we're going to from a timestamp, which is now, and we're going to do in that format. If you remember from the Moment.js calendar here, YYMMDDD. All right, so that's going to give us, and then we're going to do a subtraction of 1 day. So that's going to, I'm sorry, a plus of 1 day. So it's going to give us today's date plus 1. And we want to output that, I'm sorry, to uh, tomorrow date. All right, so now when I get it, I should have the next date is the 28th. Tomorrow's date is the 23rd, so it should not be true, right? It won't. So if you compare those two, let's add some. I believe I could just add an empty time string, and it should just append it on there. Yeah, see, it just appends it on there. That way they match. Okay, so now you see the two formats will match. Next date and tomorrow date. So if tomorrow, so then you just compare. So if message tomorrow, tomorrow date equals message next date, and then otherwise we'll have an otherwise here. Otherwise, all right. So if the dates match up, we're going to compare here. Um, dates match. And if it does, then we're going to do like here, you could go off and do an alert here. So you would like maybe have your Echo say something or get an email or, a text to speech announcement or what have you. Um, and then, if it doesn't match, you could have it do something else. Like, if you wanted to do, I don't know, something else. Um, we also want to because some days are trash days and some days are recycle days. We also could check both. So now that we've checked for trash, we could do this all. We could do these three again for recycle. So we could say change here. We're gonna say message trash is it is it true or it's a false. False. And then we could just do it again. But this time we'll look at recycle. Oops. Changes the recycle. All right, so now that we've got both of those going, here, let me make a little more room here. Okay, so the really shortcut way to do this, since we know trash is every Wednesday regardless, and recycles every 2 weeks, all we need to check as to whether or not it's actually a recycle day. We know it's a trash day. We know, every Wednesday's going to be a trash day. So all we really need to know is it trash and recycle day, or is it just trash day? So what we're going to key off then would be the recycle, and not the trash. Recycle. So that if recycle is true, then you could have your message say, please take out trash and recycle. Otherwise, you would have it say, just take out the trash. All right, so now we're looking at my own personal Node-RED. I run a dark theme. So what this does, this is my Google Calendar wake up alarm. So this will, wake my house up at when I get up in the morning, and this will figure out what time in the morning that is, because I am not a morning person. Um, this will set the wake up alarms for me. So the first thing it does is every day at 12:01 midnight and at 6 a.m. again, just in case I've messed with it since after midnight. It will check the built-in Home Assistant Workday Sensor. Now, the Workday Sensor you set up, you set up the days you work and the days the days you normally work and the days you normally off. For me, I work 4 days a week and I'm off 3 days. So I've got those in there. So it checks for whether today is a work day or not, and that'll be an on-off. On means work day, off means not a work day. And then I will check the days of the week. Um, Now, here I'm using what's known as a global variable, where I have defined. Uh, so I've defined. I've got a JSON on my disk, and I've defined these values in it, and then I set them to a global constants, to a global variable. Now, a global variable just means basically that inside Node-RED, I can use a global on any tab I want. Now there's also a flow variable, which works on any or works inside a tab, a single tab. So I can use that flow variable on any string of inside one tab. Um, and then there's the message, which is just on this one string. So I'm using a global variables and I'm setting these values. Um, I work second shift, so I don't get up until 11 a.m. usually. And then on my days off, I like to get up at 12 a.m. Sleep in 12 noon, sleep in a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Um, so then, so back to this. So we're using the work day. We say, okay, today is an off day. Today's a Thursday, so I'm normally off. Set the wake up for whatever this value is, and that value is 12 noon. It sets the on time to 12 noon. Uh, there, right there. The first one. It sets the first value of on time to 12 noon. Now it starts looking for overrides. So that's the default values. Default work days assumes I'm working or assumes I'm off. sets the appropriate times. Now I have overrides. So on my calendar, I have, if I'm off, then I have, like I'm off all this week. I set an off all day event. Now, if that is on, that means that I'm off this week. So that calendar checks for it and says, okay, well, it turns out he's off. Off is on. Off is on, then it sets for whatever the global for off is, which again is 12 noon. So it sets it to on time 12 again. And then it checks for the second override, which is whether or not I've set a specific wake. Now, for that, like here on the 26th here, I've set a 9 a.m. So I set an event with a time. So let's say I wanted to add one here. I would say wake, and then I would say 10 a.m. Right, and it's going to add a value for that. Now, the word wake is important because that's how, if you remember, that's how the hold on, that's how the Google Calendar works. It uses a search term. So this one is searching for the word wake, um, and then pulling out the date and time. Right. So back to my flow. It's looking up that. Is it null? That means there's no override. So for that day, for today, there's no override. So do nothing. But if there is one, then we're going to pull the date and time out of that and put it into another payload. And if there was one, it would show up here, and the on time would be 10 a.m. or 9 a.m. or whatever I've set to. And then it finally gets to here and sets the SCEDX on time. Now it's possible that there were no overrides, so this Workday sensor made it all the way through to the end, and it was set that way. Also, I have if I manually tell my Echo to turn on the morning routine, um, that it sets the date to now, and that prevents it from firing again later. So if I like get up early, like I wake up at 10:30 and I'm like, I can't sleep anymore. I might as well get up. I'll tell you, I'll tell my Echo, turn on morning, and then it sets that date to now and fires the morning routine. Um, which you'll see is actually it hits this out and actually goes over here to this flow, which then turns things on and off appropriately. So that's something you could do with that's. I mean, this is pretty advanced stuff with a Google Calendar. You've got your defaults defined in the first bit here, and then you've got two possible overrides that could change it. Whether it's my day off, whether I've got a new day off, like say like a holiday, like a Monday, Memorial Day or something I've got off. I would set an off value for that day. Or if I've got to get up early for some reason, I'll set a wake alarm and with a time, and then that'll get override. So anyway, that's just something that you can do with the Google Calendar, um, to make everything better for you, make everything work better in Home Assistant and Node-RED. All right, so that's all I got for you guys today. This is YouTube, so you can mash the buttons, you can not, you could, I don't know, whatever. Do what you want.